Hello everyone, welcome to our insights designed for the CCIFS this year. Today we have invited Dr. Jang Ping Thia, the lead economist and manager of the economics department at AIIB. Dr. Thia has enriched experiences in macroeconomics, monetary, country and sectoral infrastructure needs, and review of project economics at bank. He will deliver some perspectives about how deepening financial connectivity brings about more capital flow across borders, and how a low-carbon economy empowers sustainable development to help all countries to grow. Good morning, Dr. Tia. This is Yuting Chen from my Chongqing. Thanks for your attendance at our show.
Good morning, Yiting. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Jang Ping Thia. I am the lead economist and manager of the economics department in AIIB. I have been with the bank for nearly 7 years now. I'm so glad to be in this Chongqing connectivity initiative. As a Singaporean working in the bank, coming to this initiative, it is really doubly meaningful for me.
Financial connectivity is one of the main topics at the fifth CCIFS. So what are the strengths of the financial connectivity for China and ASEAN countries? And how could we deepen the financial connectivity?
Land-sea connectivity remains very important for global value chain, and this is the part whereby I think Central Western Asia will play a key part of connecting Southeast Asia towards Central Asia more financially, and to bring about more capital mobilization is to work with the financial centers in various parts of the Asia, including Hong Kong, Singapore, maybe even Dubai. We just recently started an office in Abu Dhabi. So where the investors, bankers, the experts all gather at one place, they create opportunities. So a lot of cross-border projects get syndicated, gets done in those kind of financial center. So another way is really to support the operations in these financial centers, maybe provide more incentives for people to syndicate and do deals across border and bring about more capital flow across borders. At a very high level, financial connectivity helps to match capital supply and demand. Financial connectivity brings the capital suppliers to those who need capital. That is really a very high level summary of what financial connectivity is about. China's high saving rate can be a source of capital for many developing countries, including those in Asia. But much more than that, financial connectivity brings three additional ingredients. So financial connectivity helps mobilize more outside capital, including private sector capital. Financial connectivity allows for greater sharing of expertise, and financial connectivity allows for the diversification of risk. These are three further important ingredients to support the very high level mission of matching demand and supply of capital. Financial institutions that syndicate together, that work in a syndicate, can absorb larger and more long-term projects. We also found that state-owned enterprises, state-owned financial institutions also add significant financing capacity, absorbing risk to facilitate larger and longer projects. So for example, a real project that takes many years to build, typically the participation of a state-owned bank or state-owned financial institution will be essential to crowd in more private sector capital into this kind of very long gestation, a long payoff, but hugely important projects. So I think the Western Financial Center can provide a kind of a gathering platform for finance and for the financing and the investment industries to bring capital into this region.
As we all know that AIIB has always considered sustainability as an important part of the investment. So how could the low carbon economy promote sustainable development, and what factors need to be considered?
And I just want to underscore that sustainability will remain key. It's the way to do development differently, better, bringing into climate change, bringing into net zero, and bringing into biodiversity and natural conservations into development. I think this is the big opportunity for the financial center. So financing green infrastructure towards the net zero transition is a top priority for us. There will be a lot of needs in this area. Interestingly, I also see China having more projects that are related to nature's restoration, leveraging nature as infrastructure, and introducing nature-based solution to infrastructure. It is a very promising agenda for climate change, climate adaptation, and conserving biodiversity. The confluence of these various agenda is really promising. If we do this right, it is really an opportunity to develop in a truly sustainable and in a deep way. I think many economists would agree that some form of carbon pricing will be very essential to the net zero transition and for the overall sustainability of development. Carbon pricing fundamentally shifts the returns of investments. It lowers the returns of investments of that are carbon intensive towards and it increases the returns of a greener and less carbon intensive form of investment. That shift in the rate of return is very important, a price signal, and also to reallocate resources from the more pollutive industries and a more pollutive technology, more pollutive firms towards the cleaner, greener firms. Carbon pricing is really essential in this transition. The second important part of carbon pricing is that it allows the government to raise revenues. So many governments in Asia, I mentioned earlier, are fiscally constrained. Not enough taxation, expenditure, and investment needs are too high. So carbon pricing is one form of revenue measures for this government. I would like to highlight one particular aspect of carbon pricing that maybe is understated, but nonetheless super important. I think carbon pricing changes the technological incentives, the technological adoption, or innovation incentive. With a carbon price, you really put in a lot more incentives for firms to innovate towards low carbon solutions. A lot of technology that is required for countries to reach the net zero world are still not there and are still not commercially available. And a lot of innovation, R&D, development, implementation will still be needed. And carbon price can accelerate the process of innovation, and that is going to be critical. For some stages of the development, infrastructure investments sometimes even reach or exceed 10% of GDP. This allows for the very fast economic transformation seen in those early dragon economies and now in China. Most developing economies in Asia have not been able to achieve that kind of investment rate. We're really looking for impact, the bigger social, economic, and development impact, the environmental sustainability, and to help the countries develop and plug into growth.